Karen. Thanks for joining me for session 3 of RUBI. As always, we are going to start by going over the homework assignment from last week. Were you able to do that homework?
Yes.
Great. So let's look at it here. And we were talking about those prevention strategies. I see you were able to do that a lot. This is great. And I do see here one time it looks like you circled this. Maybe this is something you want to talk about. It looks like you used the timer for the video game.
Right.
What happened with that?
Well, I've used that timer before for other things like we talked about, but there was a big tantrum when I tried to use it for the a video game that she really likes.
And that can happen. So these prevention strategies, they're not going to work all the time. They're things that we want to get into place that can be effective and can help us. And we can see on the homework, the timer did work in these other instances,
Yes.
right? When she was doing Legos, when she was on the playground, it did work. It seems like video games are a really highly preferred activity.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so it does look like that is a harder thing for her to stop with that. But it's great that you did use the timer. And have you thought about, in that instant anyway, with the video games, other prevention strategies or things that you may do differently next time?
Well, the number one thing was when she acted out like that and threw that tantrum, I just thought to myself, well, that's not acceptable. It's just not an acceptable response. So what I said to her was, when she quieted down, I said, okay, so what we're going to do going forward is we're still going to have the timer, but also if there's a tantrum after the timer, it means the next day you get no video time for the game.
Yeah, I think that's a great boundary. And I think something to expect with that is if she does lose video games, that the next day you may have that big behavior again.
Yes.
Where she's upset about it. And that's normal for kids to be upset, but you're doing a really great job of holding that boundary with her and making sure she understands that when you are setting an expectation or a boundary, that you're going to follow through with that. So even though we're seeing that behavior, this I would really say is a success, that even though she had that tantrum, I think in the past, when we were talking back before our first session, I think in that instance, you maybe would have given her more time on the video game to end the tantrum. So it's great that you continued this time.
And also, I think it's interesting for myself to know that, you could set boundaries with all kinds of things with kids, but you use the word that it's a priority. Obviously, the game, playing the video game, is a priority to her. It's really, she really likes it. So I think it's maybe good for, as the parent, to let your kids know that on these instances, this is my priority. So I could set boundaries in other places that maybe I don't have to be so strict on, but if you really want to, say, limit that video game play or whatever it is, you need to make sure you prioritize on it, and that means you double down, you make sure that they're going to stick to that boundary.
You're right. That's really important, is kind of picking, we call it like our hill to die on, is we don't want to make everything such a big deal, but there are certain things, especially once we set that limit, we want to make sure that we're following through with it, which you did a great job with. And something we'll talk about as we continue is we always want to be thinking about those behavior strategies. So I know we were taking that ABC data before and we stopped this week, and it seems like you have a really good handle of kind of what these behaviors, why they're happening, the function. Do you feel the same way with that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
We always can go back and collect some ABC data if you ever want to, that antecedent
Okay.
behavior consequence. Just
Yeah.
let me know, or on your own, you can just say, I want to, I'm having trouble understanding what's going on here. I want to collect that data. That's always fine to do. But I think going forward and still looking at how these strategies that we've been talking about, this homework will be helpful. And then we do want to look at our behavior support plan. So with this, we've gone through and picked the strategies, these prevention strategies. We talked about the timer, using it this week. And then looking at some strategies that maybe we want to start using this next week. So one thing with the video game incident, it looks like, what was the activity after that?
That was going to happen. Dinner.
Dinner maybe is a neutral activity.
Yeah.
So it's not really highly preferred. Maybe it can be non-preferred at times.
Or maybe she wasn't really hungry right then,
So that's one we've talked about on the behavior plan. A strategy we haven't used yet is changing the order.
Okay.
So
That's interesting.
Yeah, with a really highly preferred activity like video games, I think when she does it, what do you think about the activity after it being something preferred? So it helps that transition.
Right.
So you've talked about she loves to go outside and ride her bike.
Yes.
So it looks like on this day, maybe she rode her bike earlier in the day, but what if we did bike riding after video games?
Because like when you were talking about that, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should ask her, when would you prefer to do this? But I think at her age, she's not going to be able to really look across all the activities and what's necessary. So that wouldn't be a good choice. It's better if I look at the things that I know she likes to do and prioritize it for her, put it in a better order. I like that.
Here, I think that's a great idea. You hit the nail on the head there, and we're going to help her to figure out the best way where we can change the order with things. Now, today, we're going to look at Jess's daily schedule to see if there are any changes we can make. So doing things like changing the order or doing our other strategies to help things go smoothly. So I'm assuming that there are times in the day where things are easier and where things are harder. So if you could just share kind of your typical, let's do a typical weekday when there's school. What happens there?
Okay, are you asking me which morning, afternoon, evening, which is easiest for me, or just
a day in the life? So in Jessica's life, she wakes up, and then what happens?
Yeah, so she wakes up around 7, have breakfast, get her to the school bus. She comes home, there's homework time, and then there's playtime, dinner, and then there's more playtime, maybe some TV, hopefully some outside time, and then bedtime. There may be bath time.
Depending.
Yeah.
And then in there, are there any times of the day that are harder than others?
I think for me, it's homework. Mm-hmm. It's almost like she's been at school for the day and she wants to drop it at the door and doesn't want to get back into it again. Mm-hmm. So that would be, I think, the hardest one. Maybe transition to bed as a second.
Yeah. And then I know you said sometimes her play with siblings, that she can have some trouble. Do you ever have some trouble with that?
No, I would put that as a third. I mean,
okay.
So because you could think about it like, okay, she's playing with siblings, so maybe they squabble over what game they're going to play or this or that, but they usually work it out themselves, and so that would be the third. But definitely getting her to come back to schoolwork, which is her homework. Yeah.
And then transition to bed.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at in your parent handbook,
Okay.
activity sheet 3.1. We have our daily schedule.
Yeah.
So when you were telling me, I was just putting in
Okay.
those activities, and then you can help me here if you just write in the times.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
And then some things we're going to talk about problem areas or potential reinforcers. But before we do that, I'd like to know, so it looks like the beginning of the day, things go quite smoothly. So will you tell me, I want to see maybe some strategies you have in place that we can use for the afternoon. So breakfast, how does breakfast go for Jess?
Well, it actually, I'm not a morning person. I'll admit that. So for all my kids, they seem to like it. I would let them do their own breakfast, and that being, I'd have a small container of milk in a pitcher they could use. I would have their cereal on a low shelf. I would have their bowls and spoons. So they were able to come out, and I would know they were up. We'd say good morning, but they were able to go out and independently, they liked that. They'd get their bowls and whatnot, and then I'd come out and we'd interact and all that. And so it may be that they liked knowing where everything was and what they could do. So, talking about that, it's interesting you brought that up, because perhaps like for homework, if there was some area in the house that was maybe set up and it was nice, there were pens out and whatever, stickers, something to make it interesting, and it was right there, like when they came up the stairs, and there's maybe even put a label of a homework spot, so that I wouldn't have to get nagging about it. They would just, there it is. I think that's I never thought of that, and that may be a interesting strategy. That's something I would try.
That's a great idea. And today we're actually going to talk about visual schedules.
Oh, well,
so
there you
we'll
go.
Talk about that more, because one thing to consider is I assume that breakfast piece, she's been doing that for some time now.
Yes,
So she knows the routine with
Yeah,
that.
you know the routine. Everybody, they all do. Yeah.
And it seems she has older siblings. So
Yeah.
if she needed help, she could go to an older sibling.
And I'm also right there.
Yes, to get help with things.
Yes.
But we could imagine if it was her first time getting breakfast for herself, it would be helpful if she had a visual schedule of
That's right.
get a bowl, get
Yes.
cereal, get milk. So
Pour
maybe
the milk,
exactly. So maybe with homework, if she had a schedule like a checklist,
Yes.
she could feel independent.
Yeah.
But we need, I think, to just remember as we're teaching her the routine of homework and building independence, that we're going to have to teach her what that routine is.
Right.
Where she's so good with breakfast because you've done such a great job of doing that breakfast over and over and over, so she gets to practice it, and now she's really proficient in the routine and feels good being able to do it independently. We're going to be starting from the beginning with homework, where we're teaching her the routine so that she can feel good being independent. But that's a great strategy for that.
I wish I thought of this earlier, because one of the things I think a lot of parents, the kids come in the door and they've got their backpacks, and what do? They shuck off their shoes. If they have a coat on, it's all dumped on the floor, including the backpack. But if you make a little spot, it doesn't have to be big, just a small table, and even just some sort of square box where it's like, and you put a visual cue, backpack here. I think I would like to try that. I will play with that.
I think another thing to think about with breakfast is she kind of has independence and when she's going to start breakfast.
Exactly.
Where she's on her own. If she wants to look at a book first or play with toys, she can make that choice. So thinking about our next problem area we talked about is homework.
Yes.
So she's coming home from school, and the expectation is you come home from school and you do your homework.
Yes.
What could be a prevention strategy to help us with that problem area?
Well, you're right. I think, and that's an interesting thing, because you want your kids to become more independent, and you want to be able to guide them when you need to. But in that regard, even though I was excited thinking about this cute little table and stuff, so it's like, okay, homework here instead of, I don't necessarily have to say, okay, you need to sit immediately and do that. If I could just get one thing done, which is come up these stairs and put your backpack here, but then maybe give some autonomy where she can pick, it just needs to get done before dinner. Maybe.
I think that's a great idea. So even if we think about ourselves, I know when I'm coming home from work, if I got home from work and was told, now you have to go to a meeting, that would be hard for me.
Yes.
So when we think about kids coming home from school and saying, now you have to do more school, for some kids, maybe they want to get it done right away. For some kids, that can be really hard. So I like your idea of giving her the autonomy to choose when she's going to do it, but still having a limit of, you can choose to do it before this time.
About an hour and a half or so, 2 hours before dinner. So that's a lot of time.
Another idea is that if they don't have it done before dinner, you're going to eat dinner and then you have to do your homework,
you can do
because
that.
you have that second playtime after.
Would it be acceptable? One thing I'm thinking about, and it goes back to the visual cues, and I know sometimes I have to do it with myself. Like, say I know I need to hem a pair of pants. What works for me is if I take the pair of pants out and put my sewing needle and whatnot and put it on a counter, because now I visually see it. So I could give the autonomy that she could do her homework within a period of hours before dinner. But to preface that, your backpack needs to go here. I need you to take out your book or books, your notebook, whatever it is that she's going to be using for her homework, and put it on the area. Put it out. And then that way, that should be within 5 minutes. Backpack, take that out, set it up. Now, as she's moving around the house doing things, it's a visual cue.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And you'll continue taking that data on how these prevention strategies are working.
Yes.
So always with these, you're going to try it out. And definitely when we start something, there can be some little hiccups. Kids are learning things, we're learning things. But after, a week of implementing something, if you're not seeing it's working, then we can talk at the next session about, let's look at another prevention strategy. But I like that idea of her getting that out so it's there and she can see it. Yeah. And then that task is also already done. So when it is time to do homework, she doesn't have to go to her backpack and get things out. It's already out. She's already started it. And she might be more willing to do that step right after school, knowing I just have to put this out and I get to choose if I'm going to sit and do it now or if I want to go play. So that sounds like a great strategy to me. And I think it's one that will be effective, but like we talked about, we will try it and take the data, and if we need to make some adjustments, we will. Another thing to consider with that is supporting her autonomy with, if she really says, I don't want to take that out, is just maybe at the beginning saying, we're just going to put our backpack in the homework spot. So making a smaller demand, lessening the demand, and then we can increase. Once she's always successfully putting that backpack, then saying, you know what, let's make this easier for, we're going to put the backpack and just take out the folder. So we can build on things as well.
Okay, I see, yeah.
And another thing with that we will talk about more later is that once we have kids working with us, so we're giving a demand and they're following it, there's momentum there.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah.
giving an easy demand at first where they're successful, then we're more likely to have success with the next demand. So that's really great ideas that you have there. And then the prevention strategies there that we talked about is we were talking about changing the time of the demand, establishing the routine. So like you have with the breakfast. Another one that we could consider is kind of using some fun activities when they're done with it. So when you finish homework,
Yes.
that's when we get to do movie night, something like that. But I'm really interested to see next week with your homework and you come back with this about how that goes. And then as we're kind of thinking about this, we can look at some videos and see if you can come up with some suggestions for the parent in these videos on how they could rearrange their child's schedule or do things differently to prevent some of those behaviors. So you had really great ideas for Jess, and we can look in these videos and see what suggestions you may have. So we will watch. This is called Dressing Distractions.
Listen, we have to get ready for school, all right? So I want you to clean all this up, okay? Hey, you didn't clean anything up. All right, we're going to have to do it later. Come on. Come on, let's go.
And I just realized that was actually
The second
clean
one.
up later. So we'll go back to video 3.1, Dressing Distractions. But so in that one, he was asked to clean up those toys before school. Mom went to go do something else. And when she came back, he hadn't cleaned anything up. So what prevention strategies would you recommend in that situation?
For me personally, how old was that boy? Looked like 4 or 5.
Yeah, around there.
So very young. I would have taken the approach to tell him that, okay, time to clean up toys before school, but I would have went and knelt down and helped him to do it. Let's do it together. Engage and let's do it together, because what happened was she said that and she left the room. There's apparently was a TV on, so maybe the first thing I would have done is shut that TV off and then said,
I think the TV may have been on, but it looks...
continues to watch.
That's video 3.1.
Oh, sorry.
On
Okay.
that one, it was he just kept playing with his toys.
Okay.
But it was your suggestion is
I would
to
have-
control the environment where
Yeah,
the
I
parent
would have-
stays in the room,
Right.
and is going to monitor that cleanup.
And I would have engaged. Why not? There's no.
Yep.
I don't see there anything wrong with helping to clean up.
Absolutely. Another thing to consider is it looks like this is a situation where they have to get to school.
Yeah.
There's a time limit there.
Yeah.
So if she had placed a boundary and said, we're not leaving until we clean this up, that's going to have other repercussions, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be late to school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something to consider is changing the time.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
saying, oh, we didn't clean up. We're going to do this first thing when we get home from school. Because
yeah.
then you have time to say, we're not going to play. We're not going to move on to our next fun activity until it's clean. And you don't have the time constraint there. So that's another idea that she could use in that situation.
Yeah, I think it's tough there because if this was a one-off thing, right? Like, let's pretend this mother is usually very well planned, understands times, and can negotiate this pretty well. And then something happened. She was on the phone, important, and now she's got to, okay, leave it until they get home. But if this is a chronic thing, then I think you got to look at the mother and say, you're not really managing time well.
Right, that's another piece. And you bring up a good point of we don't have to be 100% compliant. That's not realistic.
Right.
So we're going to have times where
there's an emergency
we don't
or
follow
whatever.
through and we run out the door. But as
Right.
long as we're consistent most of the time,
Yes.
our children, they're going to learn what the expectation is
Right.
and what is needed. All right, now we'll watch
Okay.
the first video,
Okay.
Dressing Distractions.
Listen, buddy, we have to run some errands, okay? I need you to get your coat and your shoes on. Okay? Hurry up.
Okay, so that one he's clearly just keeps watching TV and
Yeah.
doesn't put on his coat and shoes. So what would you recommend for prevention strategies?
Well, definitely turn off the TV.
Yeah, control the environment, don't have the TV on.
Right.
Any other? Would you turn the TV on after?
Well, so she brings her son his coat and leaves. Child ignores and continues to watch TV. So, again, first thing I would do is go in and with his coat and say, hey, bud, here's your coat. It's getting close time for school. Oh, what do you want? Oh, yeah, we love this show. We can talk about it later. Turn the TV off. And then wait while he puts his coat on.
Yep, so again, controlling the environment,
Yes.
being in the room or turning off the TV. Other things are we're not going to have the TV on.
Yeah, or just
The
not
TV
have it.
will go on after our coat and shoes are on. That's
yeah.
when TV gets put on.
Or no TV.
Right,
You know what I
no
mean?
TV at all. So those are all great strategies. And then this video is the Nintendo tantrum. So we're going to see the mom asking her child to turn off the video game to brush teeth. So this may be very reminiscent of how Jess is. And the child refuses. And the mom's going to take the game.
DS. Come on. Come on. Enough with DS. We've been playing it a long time now. Hey, it's time to brush your teeth. It's time to brush your teeth. Okay, you know what?
Give it back!
No.
Give it back! Give it back! Give it back!
So what do we think about that one?
I'll just say how I would have handled that differently. I don't think anybody likes something pulled out of their hands. Like, what if you're an adult and you're reading a book that you really like, and somebody just pulls it out? I would have first sat down. How many more minutes would it have taken to sit down on the couch next to the kid and say, "Hey, having fun? What are you doing? Oh, where are you in the game? Is that, oh, great. Hey, well, it's getting close to bedtime, but what's funny, or in my mind, it's like when you sit and you're in close contact with your kid and you're engaging them in a positive relational interaction, they're going to be more likely to turn to you in a positive way. So that's first and foremost what I see there.
That's a great prevention strategy of changing how you ask.
Yes.
So connecting with the child first, changing your tone of voice, changing, I'm not going to snatch it. And
right.
I think, as you must know with Jess, sometimes you do have to take something away.
There goes to the priorities.
Yeah, but also giving the child a warning of it's time for that to go away. You can turn it off or I'm going to have to take it. So they have the warning that you will be taking it.
Yes.
Versus just a snatch out of their hands.
Yes.
They are told exactly what's going to happen. They may not like it, but at least they were given that warning.
Yes.
What about another thing with brushing teeth? Could we change the routine or change the time, what would you switch?
If you're switching a routine, brush your teeth and you get some gameplay.
Exactly. So that's either establishing the routine or doing a fun activity or reward with that.
Right.
We're going to brush our teeth first, then we get to have the game. All right, you are great with these. We have one more. This one is called 5 More Minutes, and this one, a mom's playing with her child, but she needs to leave so she can do laundry.
Okay.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna go do
No,
some laundry.
Mommy, no. I want you to stay. Please, Mommy, please. Please, Mom.
All right.
I want you to help.
Okay.
I want you to help
Okay,
me.
5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
What do you think there?
I would have said, hey, you know what? I love playing this activity with you, but now I have another activity to do the laundry. How about you come and help me? And if you want, you could take some of your toys with you that we're building. Let's go to the laundry room together. It's only going to take me 5 minutes, and then we can come back and play some more.
That's a great idea. So again, changing how you ask. In that one, it's using a different tone. It's connecting with them. You're also giving them a choice. Something you could do is say, I love playing with you, but I have to fold the laundry, so we have clothes to wear tomorrow.
Right.
Would you like to help me do the laundry, or do you want to keep playing?
Right.
So the child has that choice there. You could use a timer in that situation and say, I only have 5 more minutes to play, and then I have to do this task.
Yes.
Another thing is changing the order of events.
Yeah. In that case, I mean, truthfully, laundry, it doesn't, it would be rare that laundry was suddenly a huge importance at any time. So
we could think of something like dinner.
Dinner would have been a better one in this. I got a chicken in the oven. I got to get that out for dinner.
So you're going to do dinner first and then play.
Right. So
changing that order of events. That's great. So
I got to just comment one other thing. In my parenting, I have never found a kid not willing to engage with what the parent was doing, whether it's cooking or dinner or laundry or whatever. Usually kids are pretty interested in what is going on and they like to be included.
You're right. So we talked about that prevention strategy of a fun activity or reward. And I think a lot of the times we think of that as a tangible item, a material object.
Yes.
That is video game time.
Right.
That's ice cream. That's getting
But
to
it
watch a
doesn't
video.
have to be.
But it is really for kids, especially young kids, the best reward is time with their parent.
Exactly.
Whether that's doing the laundry, whether
Right.
it's brushing teeth, they just want that connection.
Right.
So using that as a really strong incentive and strategy to help with these behaviors.
Right.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there, that these strategies that we talk about in RUBI are so helpful, but I think the most important thing is that connection with the child.
Absolutely.
And understanding how much they want to connect with you.
Right.
And that's going to impact how we make sure that we are regulated when we're talking with our kids and have that nice tone that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So next, I was going to have us go through Jess's routine and talk about some of the times during the day that were particularly challenging, but we did that before when we went through and we figured out some of those changing the order of events with things. We talked about the routine to help with those prevention strategies. So I did, as we were talking, I filled those in on activity sheet 3.1.
Okay. Yep.
So you'll be able to use this at home over the next week.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to see how those work. And then one of the things we talked about is that visual schedule.
Yes.
So with visual schedules, we know that many children with autism, they can have difficulty with transitions or unexpected changes. And keeping a daily schedule as consistent as possible is important to avoid meltdowns. Because when changes in routine happen, some parents, what can happen is they wait to tell their child because they know it's going to be a big reaction. So if the routine is always we come home from school and we go to the playground, and one day it's after school we have to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
They may wait until they're in the car to the doctor.
I would never do that.
Yeah, because that can be really hard for a child, for anyone, especially a child with autism.
It'd be hard for me doing it.
Exactly. But
I wouldn't
think-
want someone to do it to me,
right.
so I wouldn't know.
But I think we can imagine why parents sometimes do that.
Yes.
Because it is hard, and it's hard to know how do we help a child who has such difficulty when the routine changes. How do we help them prepare for that? So one way to help them is if we have a visual schedule, we can show them on the visual
Right.
schedule so they can see it.
Like if you had tiles and one was doctor.
Right.
And then so in the day, there it is. And so you don't even, I mean, you definitely could talk about it, but they could visually just understand, okay, this is going to happen.
Exactly. And especially if they are very dysregulated. We know that when children are highly dysregulated,
Yeah.
it's likely they're not able to take in verbal information during
Yes.
that time.
Yes.
So having that visual to reinforce what we're saying can be so helpful. So that visual schedule, it not only is going to help establish the routine, so like with homework of these are the steps like we talked about, it also can help us inform our kids of when there's an upcoming change.
Yes.
So let's look here on figure 3.1 in our workbook. So you see we have these 12 pictures. So
Yes.
we have get dressed, brush teeth, eat breakfast. There's 12 different activities for the day. So this is their morning routine here. Then we can see this is them coming home from school, going on to eating dinner, washing dishes, taking a bath, and then to when they go to bed.
I'm going to make one for myself.
And so this helps the child know what comes next, but also helps tell them what they should be doing in each time.
And also, as you said, there could be other things that aren't on here, like, so this is day such and such, but then the next day, over here, play outside, we have
Exactly.
doctor.
We can switch that. So doing this, it really just helps kids feel stable. It helps them that
Right,
things
because
are predictable.
well, when you think about it, like let's say we just changed this one square. Mm-hmm. It could be a big deal. You're going to the dentist or a doctor. There's something they don't want to do. But if you visually see that where everything else is known and they like it, it will help them transition. They'll be like, okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's one difficult part of the
One
day,
difficult
but
part
the rest of the day
is
they feel
normal
is predictable,
and right, stable.
And then the other piece with this is it's increasing their independence. So we talked about Jess does so well with the breakfast routine because she can be independent. It's predictable. She knows what to do. She knows you're going to have the bowls out and the cereal and the milk.
Right.
So this is going to help with the whole day being that way.
Do you think there's a point where there's too many tiles? Like this looks nice, but let's say you want to get even more detail with tiles there or pictures. There maybe could be too many, would be overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these are things like all of these where we're trying them out and then seeing. And so some things I think with homework, if we are really trying to establish that homework routine with Jess.
Yeah, which there isn't a homework.
Right, there isn't one here, but we may have 12 pictures just with the homework routine.
Okay.
And you may start with a visual schedule for the homework routine.
Okay, because everything else is
Right.
pretty much.
And once she knows homework,
Yeah.
then we just need one icon for homework, and she's going to know, okay, homework is
this.
ding, 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 ding. Just like if she had a breakfast, she's going to know all the steps of breakfast.
Okay.
So if we're teaching a child multiple routines during the day, we're going to pick one to start with. And then once she knows homework,
It just
then,
becomes a.
right,
there's
maybe
one-
next we're going to do a bath time routine one.
Okay.
And we can always build on that. So we will watch this video. Will show us a little clip of what a visual schedule may look like. So in this, some things to look at is that the schedule is going to be in a central place.
Yes.
It's going to be accessible to the child. The child's going to be encouraged to check the schedule. And so this is going to be something that the parent is doing with the child. Let's go check the schedule. Let's see what's next. And having the child state, oh, what's next on the schedule? Breakfast, right, breakfast. And Jess is verbal, so she's going to be able to do that. If she's not
She's
willing,
She's very verbal.
If she's not willing, you can say it for her and encourage her at least to point to it. And one thing to do is if we look here, let's say brushing teeth, and the schedule, where do you think the schedule would go in your house?
I'm thinking refrigerator door is
That's
a
a
great
great
one.
idea, yeah.
Or I was thinking because she's small, it could be on the dishwasher.
On the dishwasher, yeah, that's great. So the visual schedule, these are going to be Velcro.
Okay.
So she'll be able to pull it off. So
Oh,
when
nice.
it's brushed teeth, she can pull
Oh,
off
I like
brushed
that.
teeth.
That's a textural thing.
Exactly, and go over to the bathroom and complete it. And then you can choose what some families have found successful is they have down here kind of the little basket of, oh, I did get dressed,
Yeah.
I did brush teeth. So there is also that visual
that they've
reminder
done
of you've done this, next is this.
I like that.
So that's an option of where she's going to take it and bring it to that station to do. And then once she completes something, she's going to come back to the schedule and see,
What's
repeat it
the
over.
next?
What's next? So let's watch this video of how this works.
Okay, you're all done brushing your teeth. Put it in the bag. Very good. Now what do we have
Say
to
it's
do?
that bag.
Put
Okay.
on coat. Okay? So let's go. Take it. All right, let's go put on your coat. Come on, let's go. Good. You put on your coat. Let's put that in the bag. All right, what's next? Put on backpack. Okay? Let's go. Come on, let's go put it on.
So you can see that child needed a lot of support. He was
Yes.
needing that hand over hand.
Yes.
Jess, it seems like she's much more independent. I think that she may be excited to do this.
Yeah.
So you will kind of vary your support based on what she's doing. We want her doing it as independently as possible,
Right.
but we want her doing it accurately. So you will vary your support based on what she's needing in the moment.
Okay. I don't know. I was just thinking one thing. I like the idea about taking off a Velcro, putting it in the bag. But I noticed that when they take off the Velcro, it's just white behind it. Like maybe if there was a gold star, so you peel off the activity and immediately they're visually reminded gold star.
Yep, that's great. You can do the gold star, or if you want them to see still all the parts of their schedule, you can have a picture underneath a picture.
Okay.
And they'll visually be able to see what's done because that second picture will be off. So if we look at this activity sheet 3.3 in your workbook, we can see some different options for the visual schedule. So one thing to consider is what will the icons look like?
Right. Yeah.
So some kids, if they just see a drawing of a toothbrush, that's fine for them. Some kids, it works best to have a photograph.
Okay.
With kids needing the most support, putting an actual toothbrush and kind of taping that.
That's interesting.
Could be used.
Velcro.
Now with Jessica, I'm thinking maybe photographs or the icons for
I
her.
think
She's not at sight words yet. She's not reading yet.
No, but icons.
Icons for her? Yeah, because she is able to recognize different visual representation. She's able to match photos to icons. She has those skills.
And she loves dogs. So I'm thinking that under each Velcro you pull
put a little
off
dog?
a dog, and they could be different dogs.
That's great. Yeah, and that goes back to our prevention strategies of kind of pairing it with a fun activity or a reward. She gets that little reinforcer every time.
It's almost like, you have the that advent calendar at Christmas. When you peel off something, there's a little reward, and it'll just be a little dog. Yeah,
Exactly.
I think she'd like that.
Perfect. So that brings us right to this activity sheet 4, which is we will develop the schedule for Jess.
Okay.
So we talked about we're going to use icons. And then this is what we talked about. Do we want to do a targeted routine or the whole day? What would you like to start with, the day, or do you want to start with maybe just homework?
I'm going to go with homework to start with. Yeah.
So let's think about the steps of homework.
So definitely, like I said, in backpack. Don't drop it at the door with your shoes.
Yep.
Bring it to your homework center.
So backpack
to homework center.
Yep.
Let's say I make her at a little homework center. It's a little desk. So backpack to homework center. And then actually, I would like the next step to be take out whatever the homework is. It could be the pad, some pens. Take out, if you're going to do, here's what you need. That should only take minutes. It's go up here, put this here, unzip, put stuff here. And then I would make, it'd be tough for an icon because we talked about letting her have the autonomy to, is she doing it right then, or is she going to go do an activity? So how do you put a timer icon?
You could do a clock with that.
A clock.
Another thought is, where if the expectation is just going to be you get home from school, let's put your backpack over here. That's not part of the targeted routine because that's kind of separate, right? That is a daily routine expectation of we get home, we put our backpack in the homework spot. So maybe what you could consider is the first activity is get your homework out and then complete it. Okay. Because we're starting from, we've decided now is the time you're going to do your homework. So we're here, we're going to do this routine. Step 1, get your homework out from the backpack which you left when you got home from school. Step 2, maybe get your pencil.
Okay, because so what you've done is we've gone from so the backpack's a different that should be a daily thing. Your backpack goes here. But when she chooses, so again, now we have the autonomy. She knows she's got to do it within this window or should before dinner. Now she's chosen to do it. So we're at the chosen, I'm going to do my homework. So really it should be when you're going to do your homework, get your homework stuff out. But then the one thing that I liked about visual cues is having that homework material put out. Like just here's your homework and your pens and pencils. It doesn't mean she'd have to do it right then, but that would give her, she would be seeing it as she was walking around doing other stuff. So I'm trying to think of how to build in.
So that could be something. If we think about the steps to maybe do our homework, is maybe not so many steps, right?
Yeah,
it's
maybe
get your
not.
homework out and do it. So maybe we
Right.
do want to actually do the entire day
Yeah,
for the
maybe.
visual schedule.
Yeah, that makes more
Because
sense.
then you can use that timer icon.
Yes.
Maybe she needs to check in with you and say, Mom, I want to do my homework now, or Mom, I want some time.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that a lot.
And
that
you-
an icon. I like that. That's really nice. Like, let's say you had the 12 squares, and let's say on that you had 2 or maybe 3 timers just at places, so that the kid, if they wanted, could say, I want a little time before I do this next step. Could that be a thing?
They could. So think about if we put a lot of timers on there. We want with a visual schedule that each thing, remember, they're going to be able to pull it off, do that activity, and come back.
Right.
So in between the timers, you'd have to know exactly what, if they're going to go jump on the trampoline
Right,
outside
right.
and then come back, if they're going to do.
Right.
So you could do something of an icon that represents your choice of activity.
Yes.
But
Okay.
if you have a day where they do one activity
Yeah,
for 40
yeah,
minutes, that
that's
could
tricky.
be tricky. So
Yeah.
maybe, what do you think about where they do have that check-in initially? Do you want to do it now or,
How about
after?
this? I mean, it could also be. I don't know. I'm thinking that it'd be a rare kid that wants to come off the bus and do their homework. So and I liked when we talked earlier about sequencing, so that they have a reward, something they like better. So it could be the kind of thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna have dinner, and then it's homework time. And when you're done with your homework, you get dessert.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because
So-
you don't have to have dessert right after you eat. You could take a pause and then.
Yeah, so if you put, so on her schedule, so we will do the day of wake up, brush teeth, breakfast, get dressed, school bus, backpack and homework center,
Yeah.
homework out,
Yeah.
check in on if we want a break. I think that's also giving her a sense of independence.
Yes.
Of even if she's 100% of the time going to make the choice to do homework after
nice to
dinner,
have it,
she
yeah.
still gets that choice. And then she has playtime. Then we have dinner. Homework,
Dessert.
and then dessert, and then we'll have the play. Bath can be sometimes,
Right.
depending, and then brush teeth and bed.
Bed, right.
That's a great schedule. And then we talked about this being on the dishwasher or the
Mm-hmm.
refrigerator. That sounds great. One thing to consider is we switched from doing that targeted routine.
Yes.
But if we were just doing a homework routine, where might you put the schedule?
I'd be at that center.
Right, with the homework
yeah.
stuff. So if we
Yeah.
are doing a schedule for a targeted routine, we,
We
want
could-
it with
Well, that's good, though,
most of
'cause-
the time with that. Sometimes if kids need that motor break and it's
Right.
helpful for them to walk, we can do that. But most of the
But
time,
that's good to think about, because you could have the larger overall day plan like on the refrigerator, but then something like, here's our bath time, here's how we brush our teeth, or go to the bathroom, or take a bath, whatever it is, and you put it in their appropriate space.
exactly. And then for that envelope for her to pull off
Yes.
the icon to see the little dog, do we want that attached to the schedule or just near it?
I would prefer it right attached to the schedule, so they don't have to go somewhere else. And I'd probably make it a pretty like dog covered something,
Yeah.
so that they're taking it, they go do their task, they come back, and it's right there. Boop, it's in.
And you are more than welcome to make a visual schedule. I
Okay.
will also send you
Okay.
a visual schedule that you can use. I'll make one with dogs on it.
Thank you.
Do you think pictures of dogs or actual photos of dogs?
Which is easier for you to do? Because I don't think she'd care.
I can do either. I'm going to get it from the internet.
Okay. I would go with actual photos
Okay.
then. She really likes dogs.
So
She calls them noodles
so
for some reason.
So I'll get that with her pictures of noodles. And one thing to consider is I'm going to make some extra icons.
Okay.
Because one potential barrier is when kids are learning something new, they might not like something new. They may take an icon they don't like and throw it out. Now I don't have to do homework. That icon is gone. So I'll have extra icons that you can have in a separate place.
Okay.
To reinforce, as we talked about, of when you set that expectation, this is going to happen. Even if we're upset about it, we're going to complete this.
Okay.
So we'll have those. And like you said, I think if you're excited about the schedule, she's going to be
Yes.
excited about it.
I'm going to make one for myself.
Excellent. And so now for homework for this week is we talked about those changes to the daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about those on activity sheet 2. So you're going to make those changes, and then next week we'll talk about how those have been doing.
Yes. I'll
So I have a short
record
little
it.
log for you.
Okay.
So the same way like you did last week, just
Okay.
so that we can see how it's working. You're just going to note this is the date, this is the time, the target behavior, the prevention strategy used, this is how it worked. And then we'll also have you try out the visual schedule. So I'll get that to you tomorrow so you can start implementing it. And if you can, using it on a daily basis. And then on the comments section right here, you can write down how well that schedule's working. And we can look at those notes next week and make any changes that we need.
Okay.
And then also always we want to be continuing using those prevention strategies that we talked about from our last session. So at this, we talked about some new strategies for behavior support plans.
Yes.
So let's take that out, and I'm just going to update that with some of those strategies, not just the ones that we're going to be working on over the next week, but we want to just write down all the ones we talked about so that as we go forward, we can use some of those. And then here in your book, you can see is the session 3 review. So you can read that over during the week. And then this time, does it work for you next week if we keep it as is?
Yes.
Perfect. So then our next steps, you have your updated behavior support plan.
Mm-hmm.
I will email you the visual schedule. Do you have a printer to print those out?
I do.
Okay. I can also drop off in your mailbox. It may take me till the next day, but some laminated with the Velcro.
Oh, nice.
So we can start
Okay.
doing that. For tomorrow, if you just put some tape so she can still
Okay.
peel, if we can do that, but I'll get you the laminated ones so you can be working on that. And then you'll just be taking down the logs of how things are going and reviewing session 3, and we'll meet next week.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Great. Any questions before we go?
No, I think I'm good. Great.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week.